On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
My biggest struggles were kind of letting go friends that worked for me, and those turned into dramatic emotional struggles that beat me down emotionally for months or even a year, because my best friend was one of my main workers. And had I had my mission statement and core values in place, I could have known and unemotionally looked and been like, man, this guy, he's my friend, but he's not supporting my mission statement anymore.
You are listening to Gathering the Kings with Chaz Wolfe, featuring fellow 7, 8, and even 9-figure business owners who have real battle scars from business and life, but have prevailed as the king that they are designed to be. We welcome high-performing entrepreneurs to the stage in order to reveal the real of the real on what it takes to build a successful business today. We dissect the good and bad decisions they've made along the way that give a true and accurate picture of the journey of success and how you too can get there. Through this dialogue, you will learn the value of growing your network and surrounding yourself with power players and kings like today's guest. Grab your pen and notebook because we're about to dive in.
What's up, everybody? Chaz Wolfe, Gathering the Kings. Today's guest is just an incredible human, one that has thought about his team a whole bunch, has invested into his business and his team all along the way, but yet he comes from an industry that is just turns over employees over and over and over again. And so I cannot wait for you to hear this story. I want you to grab your pen and paper. I know I tell you that on every show, but I legit need you to slow it down for half a second. Grab yourself a good pen and a good paper. There is so much value, literally, that Derek puts on this show right now that he paid someone else to put into his business that he gives for free on this show. So I want you to pay attention, and I need you to listen at least 3 times. Okay. I have secured a good one for you. They've all been good, but this is a good nugget, a good egg. He cares about people, and you're going to grow your business because of listening to this podcast for sure. Without a doubt. Here we go. All right, guys, Gathering the King, Chaz Wolfe. Welcome to the stage, Derek Taussig, y'all.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you coming, dude. I was just, we were just talking off air as we were figuring out the audio settings. Dude, your beard. I get comments all the time on my beard, but yours is longer and it's red. I mean, come on.
Yep. And I'm not even a redhead, so it just shows through my beard.
That's awesome. Every time I've seen you, you've always had a hat on, and so I didn't even know that you weren't redheaded. I actually have another buddy, brown or black on top, and then red beard. Crazy.
Yep. So my wife was commenting, I got this gray streak in it, and so those are my leadership abilities. I've been growing.
I love that. I've begun the process of once a week or so plucking the grays to keep it nice, rich, and dark. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up, man. They're coming faster and faster every day.
Yeah, I gave up on that years ago.
There you go. Well, I'll bow to the sensei on beard management. Step into my mature beard years. But dude, you are a king in business. That's why you're here on Gathering the Kings. But tell us what you do, what your business is. Tell us a little bit about like the stage that you're in.
So I own a full service landscape construction business. We do everything from building like a full on outdoor space, patios and sitting walls and fire and water and all of it, to just mowing your lawn, irrigation systems, and right now we're doing snow removal. So
yeah, you were just saying that you're planning on a storm coming through. We had a little ice here in Kansas City a couple of days ago. Actually, I thought it looked like hail, but then it was like sleet. It was like, wait a second, what season am I in?
Yeah, so it came in here and hit us like straight on whiteout snowstorm. It was whiteout for a couple hours. It was wild.
Wow. Tell the listeners where you are.
Manhattan, Kansas.
There you go. Yeah, so I'm in Kansas City. We're not too far off from each other, but the things, the whatever they call those weather patterns can change dramatically just in the plains here. So
for sure.
Dude, okay, so in this stage in the business, I know you got different angles. You kind of were super humble about all your services and stuff. I know you're crushing it. You've got a huge team. Tell me what at this stage keeps you engaged. Like what drives you now that you're doing multiple 7+ figures?
Well, in the beginning, I thought I was killing it. Like we'd have a 40% growth in a year. And then it's like, I could never sustain that. Like you couldn't grow from $1 million to 1.5 in a year. And then every level that we grew, it was like, oh, we can. we can. And then, so I would set a sales goal of 20%, and then we would beat it without even trying. And so it was like, okay. And so hook, line, and sinker, like, all right, let's get after it. We can do this.
So you're obsessed with growth.
Yeah, it leads from many things. I'm obsessed with equipment and trucks. And so
is this your bad good habit that you have?
yeah. And so I don't buy boats and sports cars, but like skid loaders and attachments for skid loaders, trailers.
Fancy, huh?
And I just look at it. Every one makes me a little more efficient, makes me a little more money. Employee morale, when I show up and I've got new machines and new trucks, like my guys are digging it, and that helps. One of my major struggles of finding help. So.
Totally. Yeah. I love that. I've got a good buddy of mine that he's more in the excavation space, but same thing. Like he's all about his machinery. He flaunts it everywhere. That's his I've made it status,
Yep, for sure.
That's awesome. Sure. Okay. So let's go back a little bit in your story. You've obviously been in business for a minute, but tell us where entrepreneurship started. Was it this business? Was it something before?
So growing up as a kid, I'm going back to when I was 8 years old, like lemonade stands and selling stuff out of magazines. And, then
what were you selling out of magazines, bro?
I was trying to think about what they were, but it was, stupid little caramel popcorn in a fancy box for $12 or whatever. Right. I don't remember. Stupid knickknacks, all kinds of stuff. We try to weasel the neighbors into buying, and we would get a commission off of it.
Yep. Mom and dad's workplace, right?
Yep. And so, that's where it started. And it goes back to, some of my neighbor kids, they had a nice bicycle or whatever it was. And I asked my dad, like, hey, like, can I get a new bike like that? My friend just got this new shiny bike, and he's like, sure. If you go work and make money, you can buy whatever you want. Yeah. And so that's where it kind of like hooked me as a kid, was like, hey, I want cool stuff. Like, all right, I'm going to go hustle up, work hard, and I'm going to have cool stuff.
Yeah. So a new shiny Trek bike has turned into probably several $100,000 machinery.
Yeah. So we just got this new GMC 6500 Duramax, and this truck is bad, but $100,000 truck.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I love it. Well, okay. So that's where it pinched you. That's where it got you started. But along the way, I want to know like decisions that you've made, right? We've all made good and bads, but talk to me about a good decision that you've made, specifically the listener who's got their pen and paper ready. They're at the 6-figure level and they're trying to get to that magic 7-figure $1 million business. What was something that you made along the way as you were growing that was a good decision that they could duplicate?
So that's maybe not going to be a short answer.
Give it to us. Give us the real stuff.
So for me, I burst into a 7-figure. I bulldozed into $1 million a year, and it wasn't pretty, and we did it. But then I wasn't going to be able to repeat that and grow off of that. And so I had to look back and see, like, I worked myself, 100-hour days or 100-hour weeks. And like, I was just killing myself. Like, okay, I can't repeat that. I can't do that. What do I got to do different? Yeah. And so I made the step. I was like, all right, I'm going to start investing in myself and some leadership development stuff. And all right, that was cool, but like, I'm still working 100 hours a week. And so the big level for me was I invested in my management. And so I had a leadership consultant come in and do just leadership development for my management circle, which they weren't anywhere in that world that I was in. So he came in and we catered it to the level that they were at, and boom, like now I was able to repeat me without having to do it all myself. The other side was I was going to all this leadership stuff, investing in myself, and I'm bringing it to my company and I'm all excited, and they're like dogged out. Like, man, you want us to do more? You want us to do more? And I'm like, crap. Well, I need to grow together as a team. And so for me to bust through, it wasn't me by myself at all. I really needed to grow a team with me to grow with me.
I love that, because you're actually there's 3 things there that I'm going to try to extrapolate for the listener here. Number 1, you said there is a play where you just got to work. Like, you can't be afraid to work. You said, I'm willing to work 100-hour weeks. Probably you would be willing to work 100-hour days if there was 100 hours in a day.
Yes.
And there's value in that, right? That you're not saying that that's sustainable, but you need to have the ability to go, you know what? I'll do it if it's necessary. Okay. Yep. So that's point number 1. Eventually, though, you have to realize how to duplicate that. So number 2 that you said was you have to develop yourself. So you can't just be the grunt, right?
Yep.
You got to be willing to work, but you can't just be the grunt. You have to develop yourself individually. And then third thing is that you have to be able to grow a team, but not just grow a team, but literally develop them. That's part of growing a team that we don't, it's not just hiring, it's developing them. And I love how you said my management circle. It's not just my employees. It's like, no, I've got a management circle, or I've got a team of people, right? Is there a mindset there that you've got?
Yeah. We try to stick to that mindset, and it really helped us when we changed from, we used to call the guys on our mow crew mow guys, like the mow guys, like the lawn jockeys. Like, so we it wasn't easy, but we did a mindset change, and those guys are lawn technicians, you know. I'm not just a landscape designer. I'm an outdoor living space specialist. And so we wanted to go to a mindset change of that, and it helped a lot.
In my world of sales growing up, like there was always look good, feel good, right? Like,
yep.
You see Jordan Belfer in the movie, and everybody's wearing suits and ties, and you look good, you feel good, you're confident, you act as such. And so that's really what you're saying, is that whether it's my title, whether it's a new truck, or whether it's the atmosphere of my culture of my team, all of those things for you, it just leveled up the business, and it sounds like pretty quickly too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We scaled quickly. And when you go from that 15, 20 full-time employees, you're like, man, how could I ever manage 40? But man, you organize and systemize, like it's pretty easy to go from 20 to 40, and you got to make it repeatable, but man, it makes a difference.
Yeah. And I've heard that before. Obviously I've known that in my own businesses too. The bigger you get, the easier it gets. But for the little guy that's listening, and I don't mean to say little guy, meaning like, you know, you don't have a good business, but in the 6-figure realm, you need systems and structure like Derek's talking about. And so Derek, you're saying there's light at the end of the tunnel. Actually, the bigger that they get, if they can press into these things you're talking about, it actually gets easier. But how do they get those things now before they have the 15 or 20 people?
Oh, you know, one, bring in somebody to help. It's good to have outside eyes. That's a great place to start. And look at your pain points. How do I avoid that next time? You know, how do we do that better next? You know, that's one thing from the military. You can do an after action review. And so after something happens, like after a snowstorm, I take all my guys to lunch. We all eat lunch, have a good time. All right, cool. What was good? Who kicked ass? And then we go to the other side. What could we do better? What could make that easier? What could make that more efficient? And so through all stages and parts of your business, you look at, man, we had this terrible customer. Like, how do we avoid that next time? Is there wording in our contract? What systems can I build for this?
Totally.
And so,
I love the review process that you mentioned there. Do you find that like as you were kind of like busting through the 7-figure mark, as you said, that there's a little bit of a chase, like you're chasing your tail constantly, you know, especially if you're trying to get to that level in business where you've got enough resources to hire out and start bringing in some other people.
Yep.
Like if you're telling the listener to slow down enough to review, how do they do that? How do they find time for that? How did you find time for that?
I made time, I suppose.
That's the true answer. I mean, right? Like,
yeah. And if you don't stop to make time, you're going to continue spinning your wheels. And so it's worth it to stop right now, figure it out, instead of to go through it again. Cause you know, that old adage of fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Like, you know, if you have that same mistake and the same problems that are making it difficult for you, and you don't look at, see what, you know, especially going to a lot of employees, like employee handbooks, and a lot of the struggles of stepping through that next step is scaling your employees. And so a lot of those systems, man, if you can figure out what was wrong with that employee and how they left and make a system for that, man, you can really make it a lot easier.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for dropping all that knowledge. I mean, it sounds so easy, but it takes work. It takes working with, maybe like you said, some secondary eyes that aren't in the forest so far that they can't see the trees, and it just takes diligence. And so that's what I'm hearing you say. Now let's switch over to some of those things that you mentioned along the way that you learned and maybe you busted through and it didn't work out so good and you had to change directions from your review. What was a bad decision that you made that was just, ooh?
So at one point in my growth, I merged my company with another company.
Ooh.
Yes. They had the fancy skid loaders. So he had 2 brand new Caterpillar skid loaders. He
wined you and dined you with his skid loaders.
He wined me and dined me with a big dump truck.
Yeah.
Like he had the keys to a brand new truck for me. Like all this stuff was awesome. And it was like, sweet, I can jump to the next level and skip a whole bunch of steps. Like, cool. Because I can thrive with somebody else. I was going to be part owner. We can do this. They had a garden center. They had a bunch of things that were already hard for me. So I thought it solved a lot of my problems. They were like a couple $1 million in debt. There was no way. And so it was never going to happen. And so through that, I learned a lot of what not to do. And I knew that I didn't want to have business partners. I knew that I needed to be the boss and do it my way, because I just need to be successful to support my family. So
yeah. In order to take full ownership there, the decision of whatever it is that we're deciding has to be yours. So tell me, like, there's obviously so much gold in here that I need to pull out for the listener here. So what is it about having a partner that makes it difficult about, like you saying, I needed to do it myself? Like, what makes it difficult when there's two? Because obviously there's successful partnerships, but it's just different. What was difficult for you in that?
Being able to grab and do the culture things, like it costs more money. Hey, we're going to spend $5,000 on our Christmas party. No, we can't afford that. No, we just need to afford that. Like just little things like that made it really hard working with somebody else. Their culture, their vision. So if, partnerships can work. If you have it set up, you have a vision, you guys are both on the same vision, same path, like it can work.
Sure.
But for me at that time in my life, it wasn't going to work. So,
yeah. Well, I love how you use the Christmas party as an example there, because every time you and I have talked now, and then our previous talks off air, you've always defaulted to, I have a great team. I'm not the only one. I'm not the guy. It's just an extremely humble approach. And so obviously you take immense value in not only your team, but then taking care of your team.
Absolutely.
And so if somebody were to disalign with that, that'd be tough.
Yep, absolutely. And in the landscape industry, hiring is what you're going to hear about. Everybody says is the hardest thing. Yeah. And so the way I treat the guys that work with me, and that's what makes me different and sets me apart. And then from that, I hire better people. And from the better people, we produce a better product. Like boom, win, 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 win. You can't fail if you do that.
Yeah. I guess what the drop is for a lot of people is that it's scary to make that first step, whether it's to hire the person that costs a little bit more, or to get that truck that costs a little bit more. All those things that you're mentioning just so easily are scary for people. So what would you say to the person who's like, oh, I hear you, Derek, but like, it costs money, or it's an investment. Like it's scary to do those things.
So the big jump for me where I learned that, I was doing all my billing and accounting myself. And it was like this dreadful thing. It would take 3 days a month to bill all my mowing work. Like I would spend 1 day a week on keeping my books straight, my accounting and my taxes. And I was like, I just don't know that I could, afford to pay somebody, accountant prices to do all this. Like, holy crap. Well, I hired somebody and I paid them like $25 an hour, and they had it done in a couple hours, like, because they were really good at it. And it was like, oh, yes, it cost a lot, but holy crap, they're really good at it. They're going to do it so much faster. It's really not going to cost that much. So I got to value my time, and my time was worth more than that. And boom, just made sense. And I learned so much from that one that I was like, every time it was time I needed somebody, I just made that jump.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I'm thinking of two specific scenarios of employees that I have, that when we were doing, just talks and vision and review and their position. And there was 2 times that I can think of that the person basically asked, like, hey, like, go with me on this. Like it was an idea that they had, or maybe they wanted a little bit more money, whatever the couple different circumstances. And exactly what you're saying is true, is like, if that's their wheelhouse, or if it was what they were meant to do, or they're taking on some additional whatever away from my plate, or whatever it was, it seemed like higher cost in the moment.
Yeah.
Long term, it was peace of mind, or it was an idea that flourished that would have never flourished because that wasn't my wheelhouse. It was theirs, or, whatever. Right.
Yep. Absolutely.
I love that. Okay. So when it comes to making decisions, you've obviously made a ton of them, but like, do you have a process for making decisions, or do you have like a way that you stay disciplined when going through making good decisions?
So that brings me into core values and mission statement. And so I have a mission for my business, and I have the core values in which I'm going to execute that business. And so when it comes to the decisions of purchasing a truck, purchasing something, going after things, even bidding work, hiring, firing employees, I look at my mission statement, my core values. Does this person being here go against my core values? Yes, they do. Emotions gone, that person's got to go. Like, they're not on our mission, they're not in our core values. And so by having those mission statement core values, the decision making process is easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're so right too, because what you've done, you just said it, but just to make sure the listener got it, is that every decision that we have, we want to be able to make it black and white, clear as day, simple as possible. It either makes sense or it doesn't. But what does it make sense for? Does it get me what I want, or does it not get me what I want? And so if you've identified what you want, AKA through your mission, and then furthering that through your identity or your core values, everything comes back to that. And so give us a scenario. You kind of threw out truck or hiring or firing somebody, but are those the most regular types of decisions that you kind of put those things up against, or anything else you can think of?
So say for one example, like a lawnmower, like our company motto is to enrich the lives through the outdoors. So I want to have a lawnmower that puts down those beautiful, crispy, straight, nice striped lawns. And so if we have a machine that's 2 years old, 3 years old, it's not throwing down the nice stripes anymore. It's an easy decision. It's a $15,000 lawnmower, but all right, we want to enrich lives. We want to put down this high quality product. This mower's not doing it anymore. It's time to spend the money and buy a new one. The biggest thing and the biggest use I use of it's probably with employees. And so you can look at somebody's personality and the way they're acting and the way they're being. They're not fulfilling or living the core values of the company, and it makes it an easy decision to terminate. And so to be able to take emotions out of employee issues makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah, it's huge, because obviously, like, you're a good person. Most business owners are. Nobody wants to disrupt someone's life, but if it doesn't match, then it doesn't match. It's not good for them. It's not good for the business. It's not good for you. It's just a headache for everybody, most likely.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and through the years, I've worked with friends and family. And so I look back, and we talked earlier about some of the negative things with the business, and my biggest struggles were kind of letting go friends that worked for me, and those turned into dramatic emotional struggles that beat me down emotionally for months or even a year, because my best friend was one of my main workers. And had I had my mission statement and core values in place, I could have known and unemotionally looked and been like, man, this guy, he's my friend, but he's not supporting my mission statement anymore. And we could have unemotionally sat down, discussed that, and left ways as friends. Whereas instead, I just emotions knew it wasn't right, but we had a blow up in a fight, and it was a terrible, ugly thing, and something, I regret. So.
Yeah. What you just said there is not just the fact that you have these things to compare emotions to so that you can act logically, but your ability to communicate in those moments based on the mission and the core values, or the identity of your company, or the identity of even you. That's the bridge, because even if you know who you are or who your business is or what you stand for, if you don't have a way to communicate those things, in this case, you said, if I had just sat him down and we talked about, this is where we're going, and this is where I feel like you're going, and I feel like they're different, it gives you literal talking points to be able to bridge the gap and communicate as adults, as professionals. And then, like you said, you possibly could have just left as okay, great, I'm gonna go my way, you're gonna go your ways, no hard feelings.
Absolutely.
The person listening right now is potentially thinking, well, it's easy for you to say, Derek, to have a mission statement and core values, because you've probably had a consultant come in and help you do that, and because you've got money and you're at the 7-figure mark. And what would you say, looking back, like, how early and how easy really is this, that a business should do this?
It's a couple paragraphs, and you're not locked into it for life either. So mine's changed. We look at it every year when we do our planning every spring, and we look at it every year. We adjust it a little bit if needed. So, just put something down. It doesn't have to be Google it, and you'll get some good points. You'll find some for your industry and start there, and then build it to you. And so it's not something is that hard.
Yep. You just got to.
On the flip side, I did hire a consultant, and he helped us build our current one, and it's awesome, and I like it. So
that's awesome, and so that's great. But you literally just gave like paid for advice that you had to pay for, but that the listener just got for you for just being willing and hungry to grow their business. And so that's incredible value. Thank you so much. We're going to transition over to the speed round. I love this part of the show because we're going to go one word answers. I don't have to limit you. You've been pretty conservative in your answers, but I might dig for more is my point. Okay. So don't be shocked if I do. So first question is this: if you could only track one thing in all of your businesses forever and ever going forward, what would it be?
Profits.
Okay. And does that mean just the net of everything, or does that mean certain margins? Give us what that means to you.
I track all of that. I track it divisionally. I track margins, and I track net. And so
all
in
those
my business,
all the profits for you.
Yeah, I'm running 12 different crews, and so I need to see where's profitable, where's good to invest, or what's lagging off and that needs fixing. And so, yeah, profits. Okay. For one word, profits. But yeah, all of it. I track it all. It's important.
Of course, right? All right. And so what book would you recommend for a 6-figure owner to get to that 7-figure mark?
So Monday Morning Leadership with David Cottrell. That is great for bringing up middle level management up into higher level management. We did a whole 6-week long class with my management circle on it, and changed the game for us.
Love that. Okay. Very good. And you kind of already mentioned this because you said you've hired a few folks, but do you intentionally network or mastermind with other business owners specifically, not consultants?
A little bit, probably not enough.
Okay.
I do network with the entrepreneurship program at the school and the horticulture program. So
nice.
I'm more reaching out to my future team, but
you're
do network when I can.
I love it.
I've got little ones at home, so I don't get to do a whole lot after work hours.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Makes sense. I understand. Okay. And then on the personal development, you kind of already answered this with the consultant, but I assume that you've probably got a line item, budget item for personal development, team development. You've kind of already mentioned this, but tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I'm pretty lucky there. I've got a guy that lives about a mile over from my office. He owns a consulting business, and we tradesies. So I've actually been doing tradesies. So that's also a piece of advice, because most of these consultants, if you're in the service business, they like to trade. So yeah. That's what helped me. So I didn't have a whole bunch of money when I first hired him, but he wanted me to do everything. Like, we were building patios and retaining walls at his house, like landscape beds, irrigation system. So in 1 year, I probably $25,000 worth of trade with him.
Yeah.
So that was huge for me.
Yeah. Well, $25,000 worth of consulting. I mean, obviously with the mastermind groups that we've done, and then even the coaches that I've hired personally, I know that 25,000, it's not a ginormous sum, but it's a good percentage. It's a good number. I mean, to be able to like get some quality movement in your business. So I know that you invested well with that amount, even if it was in trade, you still got the value of it, is my point.
Oh, it was priceless. I mean, it did. And it was even more than professional development. Like, it helped their lives. Like, it helped us all to be better people. Like, if you got your shit together at work, like, you got it together at home too. Like, it helps full circle. So
yes,
it was priceless.
Yeah, I love that you give that perspective. It doesn't shock me that you said that, because you've been so team focused, but I totally relate to that with my own team. And then also just even with part of like my identity of as an entrepreneur, I don't want to just employ people. I want them to be team, even family. But then what that means is that as I'm growing them, like what you've said, is that it trickles into their personal life. Their marriage is better. They're a better parent. They're a better everything on their end, whether it has nothing to do with me or not. It just, because of their interactions with me or my companies or whatever I'm providing for them, they're better every angle in their life.
Yeah. And the personal satisfaction we get from that, like, you know, it used to be to buy trucks and other things in the business, but like the satisfaction I get from helping everybody to be better people together, like it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit of a intangible, right? But for the people that are listening and you're thinking maybe you've got 1 or 2 or maybe 5 people on your team, but the reality of it is that people are going to come and go depending upon your business and their skill sets and stuff. But you can impact people, whether they're with you for 3 months or 3 years or 30 years. And I think that's probably the bigger point here. It doesn't really matter their skill set or how much you help them. I've had plenty of people come in a franchise and they're only with me for a year, but man, that year I've got with them, it's just like, man, I need to take that seriously. And so that way, when they do find something better, than this little position in my franchise store, then they're ready for it. Like that's my duty to get them ready for the next thing.
For sure. And then that can pay dividends later. Like you kind of get it. People's lives are going to change. They're going to leave. But I've got a guy that left 3 years ago, and he's friends with a lot of other people in town that are potential employees. And he like refers people to me. He's like, if you're going to be in this business in Manhattan, you need to go work for Derek. Like, and so it continues to pay back dividends forever.
Absolutely. I love that. Okay. Last question, Derek. This is my favorite of all. Of course, I leave it for last. If you lost it all, it was all gone, the whole entire thing, all your skid loaders, all your trucks, all your wonderful people, what would you do?
I know. So I read this question and I made notes for some of the other ones. And this one, I'm like, like, and it's hard to answer that. Like, how did it happen? How did I lose it? Like, so, and it brings me, do you listen to any Jocko Willink stuff?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I like Jocko.
So have you seen his inspirational movie video of Good?
No, I haven't. No.
Like you've got to Google it. And he says, get up, dust off, reload, recalibrate, re-engage, and attack. Yeah. And so that's kind of what that brought me to. Totally. And so depending on what happened, or did I have a financial hiccup? Right. I'm going to be beat down. I'm not going to lie. Like I'm probably going to go into a little hole for a while, but yeah, I just don't know. Consulting, I really enjoy the growth phase of the business and being challenged there. So maybe I'd go into consulting. Maybe I'd just go buy a skid loader and an excavator and do an excavation business for a while. I don't know. I don't know what I do.
You would feel the freedom to take what you've already learned and go do something creative. You wouldn't come work for me. I mean, right?
Well, I don't know. I like being the boss. That's the problem.
Exactly. That's right. Well, that's an honest answer. And that's what we're here for, is to get the real of the real. So I think what you said there in the video from Jocko is really just the dust off, the reload. Like it's not the end, like literally, unless I'm not breathing.
Yep.
What he's saying. Like,
yep. That's exactly, you got to watch that video. It's awesome. And that's exactly what he says. If I'm still breathing, then I can re-engage. And so, I'd probably be knocked down for a while, but I would do something. Yeah. I might do something different. Kind of would have to depend on what happened.
Yeah, of course. All right, dude. So this has been awesome. You've given, I don't even know, like if I could calculate the value of what you've shared from what you've paid for and what you've shared today, it would be a pretty big number. But if somebody wanted to connect with you, if they're in the Midwest and they want to come work for you or whatever, like how do they find you, Derek?
You can find me on social media. I'm on Facebook. You could email me, derek@taussiglandscape.com. Any way you can find me. If you Google my name, it'll come up.
Yep. So, spell your name for them so they can hear
it. It's DerekTaussig.
Perfect. We'll find Derek online, social media. I think that's how we got connected, was Facebook. I think maybe LinkedIn. I can't remember exactly, but this dude is the real of the real. Thank you so much for being here, Derek. I know that you could be doing a lot of things at your stage in the business, but giving back to the listener today is going to help an innumerable amount of people who are listening, and then whoever that they're going to be affecting in their businesses. So thank you. We so appreciate you.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to be here, and I'd love to do it again sometime.
Perfect. Sounds good, man. We'll chat very, very soon here.
All right, great.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Gathering the Kings. We hope you got a ton of value today and learned a thing or two about taking your business to 7 figures and beyond. If you desire more and want a community around you to help you get there, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. That's gatheringthekings.com. And I want you to apply for our next Becoming a King 90-day intensive. We are extremely exclusive by nature as a group. What that means is that we're really wanting only the entrepreneurs who take their business and targets super serious to apply. So if that's you think you got what it takes to level up your business, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com and apply. And we will see you on the other side.